Hello, dear Sandra. So good to see you
Hello,
today.
hello, dear Marta. Hummingbird beauty.
Oh, I do love them. In our some of our indigenous cultures, they represent unconditional love. So that's why
Oh,
I
that's
hold them
perfect.
so close to my heart. Yeah. Well,
Lovely.
thank you for being here today, taking time from I know you've been busy and we've all been busy, and this short interviews that have the intention of being of inspiration. I love that word for
Mm,
those who maybe start to know that they want to explore more about PSYCH-K. Some people don't even know yet that this is for them. So that's the idea, is that that voice over there says, that sounds interesting. I would love that in my life. So let's share with those watching, who are you? What do you do in the PSYCH-K world? And how do you see this magic? How have you seen it in your daily life by choosing to integrate PSYCH-K?
it is interesting that you said some people don't even know yet. That was very much my story and how Psych-K found me, actually, is one of my dear friends, Connie. She kept telling me about Psych-K and she kept saying, you have to go and learn it. You have to go and learn it. And at that point, I was a school teacher and a school counselor. I had two young daughters. I had a private practice as a psychotherapist and was looking after horses and a
Mm.
dog and all of that. So life was full and busy and beautiful. And I had a lot of tools in my toolbox. So I thought, well, I feel really content. I feel really happy with all of the things that I've learned and how my life is going. I had a beautiful life. But she kept kind of, you know, persisting. It was probably a couple of years actually. And finally, there was a workshop in Vancouver, and I had a free weekend. And I thought, well, I'll go take this workshop, even if it just gets her to just leave me alone about this Psych-K thing. So I went and I took the workshop, the basic, and I really loved it. And I started to use it with the children on my caseload, the teens and the adolescents at school, and in my private practice, and saw incredibly miraculously amazing things happen, like
Mm.
learning disabilities would transform, relationships and violence in the school community and on the playgrounds were shifting and changing, and just so very, very quickly, as opposed to kind of that Sisyphus approach where we push something uphill and
Mhm.
back we
Mhm.
go and up we go again and back we come down again.
Mhm.
Things were actually shifting, and for the good, and
Mhm.
for finally, like completely. So that was wonderful. But I think I've told you this story before. I never really was using Psych-K with myself, again, because my life was really beautiful. Didn't have time, as we often always say, and it took a riding accident that left me unconscious and broken before I
Mhm.
started to use Psych-K. That was my big wake up call. So
Mhm.
I didn't want to, I didn't feel called by necessarily, but I guess I must have been, at the conscious level
Right.
of mind.
Mhm.
But somewhere within me, there was something that said, well, if you're not coming, we're gonna bring you along. Oh, and if you're
Yeah.
not using this with yourself, we're actually going to create opportunities where you're going to have to use the processes yourself. So that was, beautiful gifts in terms of these learning opportunities. And I know that one of the things we teach in the basic workshop, and also really it's a thread that's woven throughout all of the courses, the workshops, is using Psych-K in our daily lives.
Mhm.
And you were asking me that question earlier about, how do I think about Psych-K and how does it fit into my life? And yes, in fact, it is actually a daily practice, even though sometimes it's not always sitting down to do a balance, although most days balances are included. I
Mhm.
think Psych-K also has changed the way I look at things, so the things I look
Yeah.
at change from Wayne
Mhm.
Dyer. So how I see the world, and also, every time we do balancing with Psyche, we're changing our frequency, we're changing our inner reality, and therefore the outer reality around us shifts and
Yeah.
acclimates to
Mhm.
match. So I
Mhm.
was teaching a level one workshop a few weeks ago, and one of the things we're doing as the instructor is to do a demonstration around how to transform the perception of stress into a state of peace. Now, as a trauma psychotherapist, this is just amazing. And some people wonder, well, how does that happen? And so I was trying to think of something actually to balance for something that was stressful in my life. And I really had to think about it. And it wasn't something that was, a 10 out of 10 level of stress. It was like a little tiny little blip on the radar. And I kind of said to the group without thinking about it, yeah, I keep a kind of pretty clean house. It's a bit hard for me to find something. You have to give me a minute. And then one of the ladies later said, I love what you said about keeping a clean house. So I think when we use PSYCH-K in our daily lives, this is what happens is we don't get that residue. We don't get the things that have been accumulating for years or rise up out of the surface and catch us unaware. It's because we're just doing this. It's like tilling the garden, so that it's always ready for the new seeds that we plant into it. And they just grow so much more brighter and more beautiful. So I think that's using PSYCH-K in my daily life has given me a gift that I hadn't even thought about until this workshop a couple of weekends ago. Kind of snuck up on me.
Wow, that's very cool. Yeah, because I think that's I was talking to somebody else earlier, and he said it's like having a toolbox of different tools that I need depending on what I need. And I think as we go through the process, it's like finding different places in the house where, I need to clean this and I need to clean that and I need to clean that. And then there's less and less and less to clean. And then there's more and more and more to put more beautiful things in it.
More to grow. Because we tend to sometimes think, oh, well, I only am going to use this process if there's something, wrong in my life, if there's something broken. No, it's also this powerful best friend companion to journey through the rest of our lives with that help us create incredible new possibilities and invitations and a world that is just vibrant. What I'll say is PSYCH-K is like, if you think about an artist's palette, it's just added an infinite number of colors onto the palette that I used to paint with. And I think that's made life just so much more colorful and bright.
Yeah, so many hues to that.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, thank you. I think this is a very beautiful way of inviting others to consider. Yeah, we all had situations in the past and we can transform those. And then we have a daily life that we can make better. So thank you, Sandra, for sharing that beautiful way of how you see the magic of PSYCH-K. And thank you for all you do.
Thank you. My pleasure.
You have a beautiful day in that side of the planet. You didn't tell us where you are.
I'm in Vancouver, British Columbia, on the wet coast, as we tease about those of us that live here.
And you've been teaching PSYCH-K for a long time, right?
Since 2008. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a blessing to be able to. Well, that's another thing that PSYCH-K has. I would attribute to using PSYCH-K in my daily life. I think sometimes I just think about wanting to travel somewhere or go somewhere, and out of the blue, I'll get an email from someone inviting me to come and teach there, and it's just incredible. And so the wonderful thing about PSYCH-K as well is that it's taught really all over the world in person, but now also all over the world because we have these online classes for people that they can participate in that way. My friend who told me about PSYCH-K, she has taken all of the PSYCH-K in-person workshops, and then when the online version came out, I invited her to come and be part of it because I was really curious about her perspective and how she would like it. And at the end of the class, she said, because it was around Christmas time, she said, that Christmas carol that talks about let there be peace on earth? And I said, yeah. She goes, well, the level 1 workshop is like that. She said, it's let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me. And I just thought, what a beautiful way of thinking about that we can take good care of ourselves, and in the doing of that propagate and generate peace on earth.
Yeah. I had this young man take a basic a year ago, and he said, he was repeating actually, and he said, every time I see somebody doing a psyche dance, I smile because now I know that the world is a better place thanks to
Mm,
that.
how
So thank
beautiful.
you for promoting that this is a better place. And we will share your contact info so that those watching can find your amazing workshops and amazing you. And we'll
Thank
stay in
you.
touch.
All right. Lots of love.
Okay. Mm.